On the day my world shattered, my husband Eugene filed for divorce, branding me an unfit mother and mentally unstable wife. He demanded full custody of our son, our home, and every dollar we owned. But inside that courtroom, as the judge prepared to rule in his favor, I heard a voice that would change everything. It was my 14-year-old son, Donald, stepping forward with an old phone in his trembling hands, asking the judge, "Your Honor, can I show you something my mommy doesn't know I recorded?" The judge paused, gavel frozen in midair. Donald approached the bench, pressed play, and as the video began, the entire courtroom, my husband, his attorney, the psychologist ready to destroy me, went deathly silent. Before the story continues, click the subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you are watching so I can send you a hug. Your support helps us bring more mind-blowing stories, and trust me, you wouldn't want to miss them. That morning, 3 months earlier, had begun like any other in our suburban home. I, Petra Harris, had been awake since 5:30, moving through our beautiful two-story colonial like a ghost. The kitchen filled with the aroma of fresh coffee and bacon as I prepared breakfast with the efficiency I'd perfected over 15 years of marriage. I had learned to be silent in my own home, careful not to disturb the fragile peace that held our lives together. At 6:45, Eugene descended the stairs. He looked flawless in his tailored suit, every inch the successful corporate director. I immediately placed his coffee, black, 2 sugars, exactly 180 degrees, and his breakfast plate on the table. Eugene sat down, took the mug, and never looked at me. His eyes remained fixed on his phone screen. "Coffee's lukewarm today," he said flatly. "I'm so sorry, honey. I timed it for when you usually come down," I replied softly, already reaching to reheat it. He didn't respond. He simply pushed the plate slightly away and ate a few bites in complete silence. I stood nearby, hands clasped, waiting for any other request. None came. The quiet between us was so thick, so suffocating, that even the morning light streaming through the windows seemed dim. I couldn't remember the last time we'd laughed together over breakfast. Maybe 3 years ago? 4? Back when Eugene still saw me as a partner instead of invisible help. "Is Donald awake?" Eugene asked without lifting his eyes. "Yes. He's getting ready. He'll be down any minute," I answered. Moments later, footsteps echoed down the stairs. Donald appeared. Quiet, observant Donald, dressed in his school uniform, backpack slung over one shoulder. At 14, he'd inherited his father's sharp eyes, but unlike Eugene, Donald's held warmth. "Morning, Mom. Morning, Dad." Donald kissed my cheek and moved toward his father. Eugene finally looked up from his phone, forcing a tight smile. "Morning, son. Eat quickly. Don't want to be late." "Are you taking me to school, Dad?" Donald asked hopefully. "Got an early meeting. You'll go with your mother," Eugene said, already standing, grabbing his briefcase. He kissed Donald's forehead perfunctorily, then walked past me as if I were furniture. No goodbye. No kiss. Not even a glance. Just the sound of his luxury sedan pulling out of the driveway, leaving me standing alone in our big, empty house. I spent the rest of the morning in my familiar routine, clearing dishes, running laundry, vacuuming rooms that were already spotless. I did everything with precision. I'd convinced myself that if the house was perfect enough, if the meals were delicious enough, if I was patient enough, Eugene would see me again, that the man I'd married would return. But that man had disappeared long ago. At noon, I picked Donald up from school. This was my favorite part of every day. I treasured listening to him talk about his classes, his friends, the small victories of his day. "Mom, I got an A on my history presentation," Donald said, climbing into the car with a rare smile. That's wonderful, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you, I said, reaching over to ruffle his hair. When we arrived home, as I was helping Donald with his backpack at the door, I heard the rumble of a motorcycle in our driveway. A courier in a bright uniform called out my name. Petra Harris? Package for you? I frowned. I hadn't ordered anything. I walked to the door and accepted a large, thick manila envelope. There was no return address, only a law firm's logo embossed in the upper corner. My heart began to pound uncomfortably. Who is it, Mom? Donald asked, appearing at my elbow. I don't know, honey. Probably just some junk mail. Go start your homework and I'll make us lunch, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. After Donald headed to his room, I sank onto the living room sofa. My hands trembled as I tore open the envelope. Inside was a thick stack of papers. The first line at the top made my breath catch in my throat. Petition for dissolution of marriage. The world tilted. My ears began ringing. I read the words again, certain my eyes were betraying me. Plaintiff, Eugene Alexander Harris. Defendant, Petra Marie Harris. Grounds, respondent has fundamentally failed in her duties as spouse and parent. I felt physically sick. Failed? I'd given up my career for this family. I devoted every waking hour to this house, to Eugene, to Donald. I'd made sure Eugene's life ran smoothly, that Donald had everything he needed. How could he call that failure? My shaking hands turned the page. The demands grew worse with each line. Eugene wasn't just asking for a divorce. He was demanding full custody of Donald, claiming I was emotionally unstable and incapable of proper parenting. He wanted the house, arguing I couldn't maintain it financially. He wanted all our savings and assets, accusing me of reckless and irresponsible spending. And most crushing of all, he was requesting that I receive no alimony, insisting I'd contributed nothing of value to the marriage. The papers scattered across the floor as my hands went numb. I heard footsteps and looked up to see Donald standing in the doorway, his face pale with shock. Mom? He whispered, picking up one of the pages. What is this? Dad is... He wants to take me away from you? That evening, Eugene didn't come home. I tried calling his cell phone. Once, twice, 5 times. Every call went straight to voicemail. My texts remained unread, marked with a single gray checkmark that mocked me from the screen. I sat at the kitchen table until midnight. Those papers spread before me like evidence of my own execution. I read them over and over, each word cutting deeper. The accusations were designed to destroy me, neglectful parenting resulting in developmental concerns, emotionally unstable and potentially dangerous to minor child, consistent failure to maintain basic household standards, financially irresponsible behavior, depleting marital assets, creating a toxic, unstable environment detrimental to child's well-being. Each line was a knife twisting in my chest. How could he write these things? I'd dedicated 15 years to being the perfect wife, the perfect mother. The next morning, I sat across from Louis Fraley in his small downtown office. He was older, maybe 60, with kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled. Those eyes weren't smiling now. Mrs. Harris, he said after reading the petition, his face darkening with each page. I'll be honest with you. This is one of the most aggressive divorce petitions I've seen in 30 years of practice. Can he really do this? I whispered. He's hired Vincent Shaw. The man's a shark. He doesn't take cases unless he thinks he can win. Louis leaned forward. To fight this, we'll need documentation. Bank statements in your name, photos of you with Donald, text messages, social media posts showing you're a good mother. Do you have anything like that? My stomach dropped. No. Eugene managed all our accounts. I don't have social media. He said it was a waste of time. I don't even have my own credit card. Lewis's expression told me everything. I had nothing. No proof I existed beyond being Eugene's wife. He's moved out, I continued. Says he's staying with a colleague. He won't answer my calls. Only communicates through his attorney. Every day, Donald asked the same heartbreaking question. When is Dad coming home? I tried to shield him, to smile and say everything would be fine. But Donald was 14, perceptive. He saw through my forced cheerfulness. 3 days later, Lewis called with worse news. Eugene's attorney submitted an evidence packet to the court. Evidence of what? Photos of your house, dishes piled in the sink, unmade beds, toys scattered everywhere, spoiled food. That's not my house, I interrupted. I mean, sometimes there's a dish or two, but I keep everything spotless. They're dated and time-stamped, Petra. And there are bank statements showing over $45,000 in unexplained withdrawals over 3 months. I never made those purchases. Eugene controlled all the finances. Can you prove that? I couldn't. That night, I heard Donald's voice through his bedroom door, talking on his phone. Yes, Dad. I understand. No, Mom seems fine to me, but if you say so. My son's voice, uncertain now, doubting me. Eugene wasn't just taking my assets. He was taking Donald's trust. And I was powerless to stop it. 2 weeks before trial, Eugene's attorney filed a motion for psychological evaluation. The court ordered me to see Dr. Mildred Perry. Her office was in an upscale building downtown, all glass and steel, intimidating in its perfection. Inside, cold modern decor surrounded me. White walls, chrome fixtures, leather furniture that looked expensive but felt unwelcoming. Dr. Mildred Perry was 45, polished like a magazine cover. Her handshake was firm, her smile professional but somehow hollow. It never reached her eyes. Mrs. Harris, please sit. This is just a routine evaluation to help the court understand what's best for Donald. Her voice was smooth, practiced. The questions started innocuously enough, then turned invasive. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by motherhood? Sometimes I feel tired, I admitted honestly. But I love being a mother. Donald is my whole world. Have you experienced mood swings recently? I cried when I got the divorce papers. Wouldn't anyone? Do you ever raise your voice at Donald? Once or twice when he wouldn't do his homework. But that's normal, isn't it? Have you had thoughts of self-harm? No. Never. Dr. Perry nodded slowly, taking extensive notes after each answer. I didn't realize I was walking into a trap with every honest word. 4 days later, Lewis called. His voice was strained. Petra, I received Dr. Perry's evaluation. And? The silence on the line made my stomach drop. She's recommending full custody to Eugene. Supervised visitation only for you. He read from the report. Subject displays signs of emotional instability, possible depressive episodes, concerning patterns of erratic behavior, lacks emotional regulation necessary for primary caregiving, potential risk to minor child's psychological development. How can she write this? I cried. I was honest. I told her I sometimes feel overwhelmed. What mother doesn't? She twisted every word you said, Petra. Every normal emotion, every honest admission, she's weaponized it all. That night, my phone rang. Eugene. The first time he'd called in weeks. Just sign the papers, Petra. His voice was cold, calculated. Make this easy. Eugene, please. You can't win. Everyone sees what you are. Even Donald knows you're not fit to be his mother. That's not true. I'm giving you a chance to walk away with dignity. Take it. Something inside me snapped. You're doing this deliberately. You're setting me up. Goodbye, Petra. See you in court. The line went dead. I screamed, threw my phone across the room. A picture frame shattered against the wall. I collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. What I didn't know, Eugene had planted a hidden camera in the living room before making that call. He captured everything: my breakdown, my screaming, my throwing objects. Out of context, I looked genuinely unstable. Upstairs, Donald sat in his room, door cracked open. He'd heard everything. His recording app was running. It had been running for weeks now, documenting everything his father said and did. He said nothing, just watched and listened, building his evidence file one recording at a time. 3 days before the hearing, Eugene's attorney submitted the complete evidence package. Louis brought it to my house, and we sat at my kitchen table reviewing it together. With each page, his face grew darker, and my hope died a little more. The photographs were devastating. Pictures of my house, except it wasn't my house. Not really. Overflowing trash bins, dishes stacked precariously in the sink, crusted with old food, an unmade bed with clothes strewn everywhere, spoiled food rotting in the refrigerator. Donald's room in complete disarray, toys and books scattered like a tornado had hit. "These aren't real," I insisted, my voice rising. "I keep this house spotless." "Can you prove when they were taken?" Louis asked gently. I couldn't. The metadata showed dates when Donald was at school, times when I was alone. "They must be staged," Louis said, "but we can't prove it." Then came the financial records. Bank statements showing my supposed reckless spending. $5,000 at a luxury spa I'd never visited. $30,200 at high-end boutiques I'd never stepped foot in. $4,500 at jewelry stores, $2,800 at exclusive restaurants. Over $45,000 in 3 months. "I never made these purchases," I swore, my hands shaking. "Eugene controlled all our online banking. He had access to everything." "Without your own records, Petra. It's your word against official documents." The worst came next. The video Eugene had recorded of my breakdown. Louis played it on his laptop, and I watched myself crying hysterically, throwing that picture frame, screaming, "He's taking my son. He's taking everything." Without context, without knowing Eugene had deliberately provoked me, I looked dangerously unstable. "This is damaging, Petra, very damaging." Then Louis showed me one more document, a statement supposedly from Donald. It claimed he was afraid of my mood swings, that he felt safer with his father. "I never said that," Donald protested when I confronted him that evening, tears streaming down his face. Dad's lawyer put words in my mouth, but Dad said if I didn't sign it, they'd separate us permanently. "I had to, Mom. I'm sorry." That night, after Donald went to bed, Louis laid out the cold reality. The doctor's report supports Eugene's claims. The photos show neglect. The financial records show irresponsibility. The video shows instability. Even Donald's statement, coerced or not, supports Eugene. So what are you saying? I'm saying Eugene has built an airtight case. We can fight, but I'm being honest with you. It doesn't look good. Later, I sat in Donald's room watching him sleep. I might lose him. The thought was unbearable. "I'm so sorry, baby," I whispered. Donald's eyes flickered. He was awake, listening. Under his pillow, his hand clutched his old phone, 47 video files, 103 audio recordings stored safely. He was just waiting for the right moment. 3 months earlier, Donald couldn't sleep. It was past midnight when he crept downstairs for water, his feet silent on the carpeted stairs. That's when he heard his father's voice coming from the study, a tone he'd never heard before. Cold, calculating. "Don't worry, Mildred. Everything's going according to plan." Donald froze in the hallway. She has no idea. By the time she figures it out, it'll be too late. His father laughed, a sound that made Donald's skin crawl. Donald? He'll choose me. I'll make sure of it. Donald's hands shook as he pulled out his phone and hit record, pressing it against the door crack. Petra thinks she's the perfect wife, his father continued. Wait until the judge sees what we've prepared. Full custody, the house, everything. She'll have nothing. From that night on, Donald started noticing everything. His father coming home late, smelling of expensive perfume, receipts for dinners for two at restaurants they'd never been to as a family. Text messages his father thought he'd deleted. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, my love. From someone saved as Dr. MP. 2 months before the divorce papers arrived, Donald heard voices in the basement. He crept down the stairs, hid behind the old furnace, phone recording. Through a gap in the storage shelves, he saw his father with an elegant woman, kissing her passionately. Soon, we won't have to hide, Mildred, his father said. Once the divorce is final, we can be together, the woman replied, and Donald will never know the truth. Donald created a secret folder on his old phone, labeled it School Project 2024. Inside, he methodically documented everything: voice recordings of phone calls, videos through door cracks, screenshots of deleted texts he'd recovered using a recovery app, photos of his father with Dr. Perry, financial documents he'd photographed from his father's desk. 1 week before trial, his father thought Donald was at a friend's house, but Donald had come home early and hidden in the basement stairwell, phone recording. The conversation he captured was damning. My evaluation report will destroy her credibility, Dr. Perry said. Perfect. The judge will eat it up. I made her look dangerously unstable. What about the financial records? All forged and filed. She can't prove anything. And once we have full custody, we move to Colorado. Fresh start. Just us and Donald. She'll have nothing, not even visitation. They laughed. They kissed. And Donald recorded every second. He watched his mother deteriorate daily, saw her crying alone when she thought he wasn't looking. He wanted desperately to tell her, to ease her pain. But he knew he needed everything perfect. He needed them to confess on camera, to think they'd won completely before he revealed the truth. The night before trial, Donald held his phone, watching his mother pack documents with shaking hands. Tomorrow, in court, he would save her. The morning of the trial, I arrived at the courthouse with Louis, barely recognizing myself in the bathroom mirror. Dark circles shadowed my eyes. I'd lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. Across the aisle sat Eugene, perfectly dressed in a charcoal suit, confident and composed. His attorney, Vincent Shaw, wore a predatory smile. In the gallery, Dr. Mildred Perry sat with her hands folded, the picture of professional calm. Judge Martha Harrison entered, stern, gray-haired, with a reputation for being thorough but fair. This is a custody and asset dissolution hearing, she announced. I've reviewed the preliminary materials. Mr. Shaw, call your first witness. The petitioner calls Eugene Alexander Harris. Eugene took the stand, placing his hand on the Bible with practiced solemnity. Please state your name and occupation. Eugene Alexander Harris, Regional Director at Caldwell Industries. Shaw guided him through testimony designed to paint him as the perfect father. Eugene spoke of working tirelessly to provide for his family, of growing increasingly worried about my mental state, of trying to help me but being rebuffed at every turn. I'm putting on a brave face, Your Honor, Eugene said, his voice breaking slightly. But Donald deserves a stable environment. Several observers in the gallery nodded sympathetically. The performance was Oscar-worthy. Lewis tried to challenge him during cross-examination. Isn't it true you controlled all financial accounts? I managed finances because Petra couldn't handle the responsibility. Convenient that all this evidence appeared right before filing for divorce? I documented the reality of our home life. That's not convenient. That's responsible parenting. Every answer was perfectly rehearsed. The judge seemed to accept his explanations. Then Shaw displayed the photos on the courtroom screen. Gasps echoed through the gallery at the state of the house. These photos show the environment Donald was living in, Shaw said with manufactured concern. Those are staged, I whispered desperately to Lewis. But how could I prove it? Lewis objected, but without counter-evidence, the judge overruled. The financial records came next, projected for everyone to see. $45,000 in frivolous spending while Eugene worked tirelessly. My face burned with shame as whispers filled the gallery. How irresponsible. Poor man. That poor child. In the gallery, Donald sat watching everything, his phone in his jacket pocket. His finger rested on the power button, the video file cued and ready. Not yet, he told himself. Wait for them to feel safe. Wait for them to think they've won. He caught my eye and nodded slightly, a tiny gesture I didn't understand. Trust me, Mom. Just a little longer. The court calls Dr. Mildred Perry. She walked to the witness stand with complete confidence, wearing a professional Navy suit, carrying a leather portfolio. After being sworn in, she radiated credibility. The gallery leaned forward. Everyone knew this was the crucial testimony. Please state your credentials, Vincent Shaw began. I have a PhD in clinical psychology from Stanford University, Dr. Perry said smoothly. I've been practicing family psychology for 15 years. I'm board certified in child welfare assessments and have consulted on over 300 custody cases. Judge Harrison nodded, clearly impressed. You evaluated Mrs. Harris. What were your findings? Dr. Perry opened her report with deliberate care. I performed a comprehensive psychological evaluation. The subject demonstrates significant emotional instability. She exhibits depressive symptomology and shows concerning patterns of erratic behavior. Mrs. Harris lacks the emotional regulation necessary for primary caregiving and poses a potential risk to the minor child's psychological development. Each word was a nail in my coffin. Can you elaborate on emotional instability? Shaw prompted. During our session, Mrs. Harris admitted to frequent crying episodes. She described feeling overwhelmed regularly. She confessed to raising her voice at Donald. When I pressed on certain topics, she became defensive and hostile. Everything I'd said honestly twisted into ammunition against me. Doctor, I'd like to show you a video taken 1 week ago. Shaw played Eugene's recording of my breakdown. The courtroom watched in horrified silence as I cried hysterically, through the picture frame, screamed about losing my son. In your professional opinion, what does this behavior indicate? This displays acute emotional dysregulation, Dr. Perry said with clinical detachment, aggressive tendencies, inability to manage stress appropriately. This is precisely the environment a child should not be exposed to. Your recommendation for custody? Unequivocally, full custody to the father. Supervised visitation for the mother only, with continued therapy required before any increased contact. The child's psychological safety must be paramount. Her performance was flawless. Even Lewis looked defeated. He stood for cross-examination. Dr. Perry, you've only met Mrs. Harris once, correct? One comprehensive evaluation is standard protocol. Did you evaluate Mr. Harris as well? The court order specified evaluation of the mother only. How can you assess custody without evaluating both parents? Mr. Harris has no documented psychological concerns. Mrs. Harris does. Every answer shut Lewis down. The judge was clearly siding with Dr. Perry. Shaw rested his case. Eugene and Dr. Perry exchanged a subtle glance, barely noticeable, but there. She returned to the gallery, composed. Eugene's face showed barely contained triumph. I slumped in my chair, tears streaming. I'm sorry, Lewis whispered. I'm so sorry. Judge Harrison straightened. I'm ready to render my decision. She lifted her gavel. In the gallery, Donald stood up, old phone in hand. Your Honor. A young voice cut through the courtroom. Everyone turned. Donald stood in the aisle, walking toward the bench with determined steps. Your Honor, can I show you something my mommy doesn't know I recorded? Judge Harrison paused, gavel frozen in midair. Young man, this is highly irregular. Eugene bolted upright. Donald, sit down, now. Dr. Perry's face went pale. Your Honor, I object, Vincent Shaw sputtered. This is... Please. Donald's voice wavered but stayed strong. My dad and that woman, they've been lying about everything. Donald, what are you doing? I whispered, confused. Judge Harrison studied Donald's face. Approach the bench, son. Donald handed her his old phone. It's all on here. Everything they said. Everything they did. The judge examined the phone screen. 47 video files. Eugene lunged forward. That's illegally obtained evidence. You can't... Bailiff, restrain Mr. Harris, Judge Harrison ordered sharply. To Donald. What is on this device? Donald's voice trembled, but he held steady. Proof that Dr. Perry and my dad planned everything together. Proof they're in a relationship. Proof they made fake evidence to hurt my mom. The judge connected the phone to the courtroom display. Everyone will see this. The first video began. Basement footage from 1 week before trial. Crystal clear audio and video showed Eugene and Dr. Perry kissing passionately. Almost there, darling. Eugene's voice echoed through the speakers. 1 more week. My report will seal it, Dr. Perry replied. She'll look dangerously unstable. You're brilliant. That evaluation was perfect. I made sure to document every vulnerability she revealed. The courtroom erupted in shocked gasps. The video continued. The financial records? Forged perfectly. Used her card numbers to create a false trail. And the photos? Staged them myself when she was picking up Donald. What about that breakdown video? You provoked her beautifully. She never suspected the camera. Eugene laughed. She actually thinks she failed as a wife. Once we have full custody and move to Colorado, she'll have nothing. Not even visitation rights. Donald will forget about her eventually. Stop it! Stop the video! Eugene screamed, rushing toward the bench. Bailiffs grabbed him. That's out of context. He doesn't understand. Dr. Perry stood, trying to flee. Bailiff, detain that woman, the judge ordered. Dr. Perry collapsed into her seat. I can explain. The gallery exploded in chaos. Reporters typed frantically. Lewis sat stunned, mouth open. I sobbed into my hands, but these were tears of relief. There are 46 more files here, Judge Harrison said. Phone calls, more meetings, text messages I recovered, Donald explained. Proof they transferred money to her account. Plans to sell the house. Everything they were going to do once they won. Eugene wrestled with the bailiffs. He's just a child. Petra put him up to this. Eugene, stop talking, Dr. Perry pleaded. But Eugene couldn't stop. We did nothing wrong. We love each other. We deserve to be happy. She was holding me back. A complete confession in open court. Judge Harrison's face was stern. In 30 years on the bench, I have never witnessed such calculated fraud, such manipulation of the legal system, such betrayal of professional ethics, and such bravery from a young man protecting his mother. Judge Harrison stood, her voice commanding absolute attention. Bailiff, place Eugene Alexander Harris under arrest. The charges rang through the courtroom: perjury, fraud, conspiracy, evidence tampering, financial theft. Eugene was dragged out screaming, "You can't do this! I have rights!" I watched, numb with shock, as my husband, the man I'd loved for 15 years, revealed his true nature in those final moments. "Dr. Mildred Perry, you are also under arrest." The judge's voice was ice. "Same charges, plus professional malpractice. The medical board will be notified immediately. Your license is suspended effective now. Your career is over, doctor." Dr. Perry sobbed, mascara running down her face. "I loved him. I just wanted—" She was led away in handcuffs, her composure finally shattered. Judge Harrison turned to Vincent Shaw. "Did you know about this fraud, counselor?" Shaw's face was ashen. I had no knowledge, Your Honor. I believed my client." "You better hope that's true. The state bar will be investigating." Shaw packed his briefcase with trembling hands, his career hanging by a thread. Then Judge Harrison looked at me, and her stern expression softened. "I hereby grant Mrs. Petra Harris full custody of the minor child Donald. Mr. Harris's custody petition is denied in totality. He will have supervised visitation only, pending criminal trial. All marital assets are frozen and will be restored to Mrs. Harris. The divorce petition filed by Mr. Harris is dismissed. Mrs. Harris, you may file for divorce yourself, which I will fast-track and grant immediately." She continued, "All fraudulently transferred funds will be returned. The marital home remains in Mrs. Harris's possession. Mr. Harris will be liable for all court costs and attorney fees. Restitution for emotional damages will be determined at a later hearing." Finally, she addressed Donald. "Young man, approach the bench." Donald walked forward nervously. "You showed extraordinary courage today. You documented evidence systematically and responsibly. You protected your mother when no one else could. You are a remarkable young man, and she is very lucky to have you." The entire courtroom broke into applause. Donald's composure cracked, tears streaming down his face as he ran to me. We embraced, both sobbing. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I should have told you sooner." "No, baby. You were perfect. You saved us." I recorded everything, every lie he told. "You were so brave, so smart." Lewis joined us, grinning for the first time in weeks. "Mrs. Harris, you're free. Completely free." We walked out of the courthouse into a wall of reporters and camera flashes. Donald held my hand tightly. "Where do we go now, Mom?" I breathed free air for the first time in months. "Home, sweetheart, we go home. And then we start over. Just you and me. The way it should have been." 6 months later, I had a new job as an office manager. Our savings were rebuilt. Donald was thriving in school, making honor roll. Eugene was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Dr. Perry lost her license and received 2 years. The divorce was finalized. The house was mine. "Mom, are you happy now?" Donald asked one evening as we ate dinner together. I looked at my son, the boy who'd saved my life. "I'm free, baby. And that's everything." Sometimes the smallest voices speak the loudest truths. Sometimes children see what adults try to hide. And sometimes justice comes from the most unexpected places. Donald didn't just save his mother. He proved that love and truth will always defeat deception. The end.